Thanks for joining us here today for this Substack Live with my good friend Philip Hoffmacher. Philip, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for doing this with me, David. I can't wait to talk to you again.
Yeah, it's so cool to meet you on Substack again because we got to meet in real life just last month, just a few weeks ago, which is really, really cool in Vienna. So it's rare that you get to meet someone who you meet on Substack in real life. And that was a really cool moment for Christina and I again to meet you and Sinem there. So cool to get caught up again on Substack. We're going to be here for Oh, hang on, someone's ringing me. Get rid of that. We're going to be here for a few minutes, or maybe 20 minutes or so, I guess. And if you have any questions as we're doing this live today, just pop them into the comments and we'll try to answer them as we go along. We're going to talk a little bit about personal branding in an AI dominated world. Obviously, we're in a increasingly AI dominated world right now. So we're going to discuss how we maintain and develop our personal brands through that. So, Philip, first of all, tell me in brief, what you guys have been up to on Substack recently, and have you got any big plans before the end of 2025?
Absolutely. So, first of all, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. As David said, we had the opportunity to spend dinner together with our wives, and now we're super excited to do this here on Substack together. By the way, David, we should do this more regularly. So
Yeah.
now that it's out there, everyone can keep us accountable to that. So here on Substack, Sinem Yari and I, we are really pushing to end 2025 strong. Why are we doing this? First of all, because we set an amazing goal, amazing in terms of it was so big that it scared us at the beginning of the year. Because I think at the beginning of the year, we were standing somewhere around 200 paying subscribers. And we said we want to try whatever we can to get to 1,000 paying subscribers. We're not there yet, but we're also not there at the end of the year. So this is for sure something that we are trying to make work. And we have one or two plans in place that hopefully get us over the edge. Other than that, we are preparing for 2026. And one of the things on our roadmap for sure is the entire branding thing. Because, David, you know that better than everyone else. AI is rising. It's so easy to create content. We as writers and creators need to work on our brands in order to stand out.
Yeah, 100%. And I love what you guys are doing on Substack. I think you're doing an amazing job, and it's really, really cool to see how you're growing and stuff. And you're always doing something new, which I love. You guys never sit still. You always have big plans in the works, so that's really awesome. Anyone who's watching this today hasn't subscribed yet to Write Build Scale and to Philip, make sure you do that during the course of this call up at the top there. Um, okay, so again, if you have any questions, just pop them into the chat as we go through this. But Philip, as we start off, do you think, the biggest challenge facing writers and creators in terms of AI? So, in terms of how to use AI effectively, but also the danger and maybe overusing it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Love to address that. Great question. I'm personally always say to people, I'm a marketer by heart. I'm not a writer first. So I cannot speak on the how much AI should you use to write your blogs, to your posts or whatsoever. But I love to bring AI into all the boring parts of my business so that I have more time for the really important parts. For example, creating promotional images, coming up with headline ideas for a webinar, planning out bonuses that we can give away to people. These are all tasks where you need to think a lot about it. And once you know what you want to create, you can create them quite quickly. But the coming up with amazing ideas part is something where we are using AI a lot. I love to have multiple AI systems. One of them, for example, ChatGPT, coming up with an idea and then Perplexity challenging the same idea. Just so to have multiple points of views. I'm not that deep into AI. I'm someone who loves to apply things. So I don't know, maybe you can do the same thing with two different windows of ChatGPT as well. But for me, it just feels logic that the one tool is creating something and the other thing is challenging it. Something
Mhm.
like that lead to workflows that have saved us a lot of time recently.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think like balance and stuff like that is really cool, and using AI as like a tool rather than a crutch, and
Yeah.
working it into your system. I definitely really enjoy, and I was speaking to someone about this recently, just kind of spilling my thoughts out into like ChatGPT, and just kind of anything that's in my head about a certain topic, just splurging it out and then letting it create like a framework or a summary of it, and just draw the best points out, most applicable things for my audience. Because if I tried to do that myself, A, it would take a really, really long time, and B, it wouldn't be very good. So AI is able to do that so much faster and more effectively than I could possibly do it. Maybe got a couple of comments here. Sorry, Philip. I'll read these first, and then we can keep going.
Awesome.
So Sean says, although AI is doing the writing, there's a certain way that you can project your voice and you can represent a certain perspective through that, and AI kind of helps you navigate that. I totally agree. What do you think about that, Phil?
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
Oh, yeah. And then Mac said, just stop using it to write, have it create an outline, sure, but that's what we've been doing for centuries, outsourcing the creative process through writing workshops and dialogue. Yeah, again, I agree. I actually am pulling back more and more from using it as the actual writing side of things. Like, I think it's so good for frameworks and creating processes and systems and analyzing and things like that. But I think more and more I actually have missed doing more of the writing myself, so I'm sort of pulling back from that a little bit in terms of AI. What do you guys think, Philip, at Right Build Scale about that sort of thing? Like, I know that you say you're not a writer at heart, you're more a marketer, but in terms of you and Cinnamon and Yari together, do you see yourselves using AI more for the writing side of things, or maybe pulling back a little bit?
That's a great question. I personally think you should use AI everywhere where it's not really necessary how exactly the outcome looks like. Let me give you an example. If you're chatting with a friend, I always use AI to chat with them. No, I'm not telling ChatGPT, hey, respond to my friend, but I'm using another AI called Whisperflow where I can just talk into it and then it fixes the grammar and sends it out. That is something that I would recommend everyone to do when they want to save time. Also, I'm a big fan of doing my reflections like that, just like you said earlier. So, for example, every time I come home from a run, I open my ChatGPT and I start talking into Whisperflow, letting it know all the thoughts that I had while running. And this is really unsorted. So sometimes there are thoughts about running itself, but then there are also a lot of thoughts about the things that I want to buy because I always get hungry when I go for a run. And then there are things that come up regarding my business and ideas that I want to implement. And for that, I have a GPT that basically filters those things out and creates my notes in a structured way. This is something that I would absolutely recommend everyone. As with writing, I would use AI to get a first draft out there or to turn ideas into drafts. Or another thing, that's something where I think ChatGPT is amazing, is combining things that have you experienced in your own life with a lesson that you want to teach. So, for example, let's say I go for a run and I suddenly see a turtle in the woods. I can tell ChatGPT, "Hey, I just was for a run and I saw a turtle in the woods. How can I turn this into a lesson about working with your co-founders? So how can I turn a turtle that's in the woods into a lesson about working with co-founders? I have no idea how to do that, but I'm pretty sure ChatGPT will come up with a couple of connecting points that you can then use to create your own story of it.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's such a fantastic way of using it. I haven't done that before myself. And sometimes I tell people to use story all the time and stuff that they do. And finding that bridge, that connection can be really difficult to do. So that's a really good way of doing it. I hadn't thought of that before. Phil, just really quick before I answer some questions, and tell us about something you did recently in terms of running that you were telling me about just before this.
Absolutely. I finally did my first ultra marathon. I've been running marathons for a while, but I recently signed up for an ultra, which is basically a distance longer than a marathon. In my case, it was about 50 miles or 88 kilometers above three mountains. And it was fucking amazing. Amazing because I usually always sign up for things where I knew I can do them easily because you can do a marathon. It just depends on the time. Maybe it's 3 hours 30, maybe it's 4 hours, 5 hours, but literally everyone can do it. If you don't want to run it, you walk it in 8 to 10 hours. But here it was really like with cutoff times, and it was interesting to me because I almost broke about 40 kilometers in. It was super funny. We shared the story of that. Sinem was waiting with a huge sign saying, you're not almost done yet." And I'm like, whispering to her, "I feel like I'm done. Let's get in the car and get me home." But yeah, then my mom, her, and a friend did a lot of positive talk to me, and that really, really got me out of the hole. And that's something maybe everyone can learn from. That's why I love connecting with you and love connecting with other people. As creators, let's be completely honest, we so often face situations where we want to quit Substack, where we want to stop continuing creating courses, where we no longer want to record YouTube videos, where we want to abandon the podcast. That's totally fine. Everyone feels like that. That's something that I learned from sport. But in that case, you need to have someone in your corner to help you out. And therefore, I'm really happy to say, David, that you're someone who I can bounce every idea with back and forth, who's doing live streams with me to keep me accountable. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it. Philip, well done for doing your ultra marathon. It's something I could probably never dream of doing it in real life. So very well done for doing that.
I thought the same couple of years ago. You can if you want.
No, I've seen you in real life. You're a lot fitter than I am. You could definitely do it better than me.
I think that's just an excuse from your end because you want to have the time to publish more books, right?
Maybe, yeah, that could be it. It's easier writing books. Although I did, as you know, I recently purchased a standing desk, which I'm going to start using really soon. So I'm going to force myself to stand and walk on a trackpad maybe as well while I write. So hopefully that'll help me get some more steps in.
As I said on your note, the standing desk is amazing because I never stand with it. I just move it up about 20 centimeters whenever I'm doing a Substack Live. So this is not my normal height. This is like my Substack Live height. So
love it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Let's go to a couple of comments here real quick. So Mike Devlin said, talking about AI, put your fingerprint on it. That's all you need. It uses phrases like the soil hums because it doesn't understand the tactile quality and essence of soil. Yeah, I get that. And yeah, you do need to put your own stamp on AI because it will repeat the same phrases a lot, especially if you don't tell it not to. And some AI writing that I read makes me kind of cringe, and cringe is a big AI word as well. Because it's just so clearly been just run through ChatGPT. It hasn't been edited or hasn't anything done to it, and it just sounds like every other article that's already out there. So, you do need to 100% put your own stamp on any AI content that you create. Definitely. Murdhin, sorry, I probably pronounced your name really badly there. AI speech to text has really helped me realize or release my thoughts and then help me organize them. And this has been a game changer and time saver for me. I totally agree with that.
Same for me as well.
Yeah. Mike said, it's a disability tool. Also, I'm disabled and it outsources some of my actual physical pain. That's brilliant. It's great to hear. Francesca said, how about ChatGPT and it's, let me see if I can see this, and it's worthing on a safety recommend. How about the financial recognition to experience from I don't 100% understand what you're saying there, Francesca.
I mean,
I don't really get that, but you can maybe message one of us afterwards. And Mike says, where's Phil from? Dope accent. Phil, where are you from?
I'm from Austria. So next to Germany, like Germany's little brother. Let's call it that way.
It's a very, very beautiful country. I can now say that for sure, having been there. And one of the best places I've ever been to. Let's see. I'll see if anybody else. Yeah, let me come back to some of those towards the end. But yeah, so going back to this whole idea of how do you maintain and build a personal brand in the era of AI, which we started to talk about at the beginning. What do you think, Phil, is super important? What's like the most the key core aspect of building a personal brand that differentiates you from everybody else out there using AI for everything?
I strongly believe you need to know yourself first. And when I say you need to know yourself first, that sounds a little bit stupid in the beginning, but to be completely straightforward, if I ask 10 people on the street, what are your 3 most important values in life? I'm pretty sure that here in Austria, 9 of them will not be able to name the 3 of them. They might say some things like freedom and money, and then they struggle to come up with a third one. If they're smart, they say something like health. But like, what are the real things that are driving you? So for me, it's completely clear. Yes, I want to have freedom, but I also want to have ownership. and I want to have love in my life. And these three things together are super important. And I want to apply them to all parts of my business and my life. So I also want to love the business that I do. I want to have friends that I actually love, that I really can have a great time with. And I want to have ownership, basically, meaning I want to be responsible for my results, meaning I'm not a good employee. So therefore I needed to become a creator and an entrepreneur. And once you know this, you can build a personal brand around yourself, because every decision you're then making can be guided by your core values. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and that's even more important, is you need to understand that by deciding on your personal brand, other people will not agree with you, and that's totally fine. When I started my business career, I always wanted to be liked by everybody. And I can tell you, it's horrible, it's frustrating, it's just not working, because you will be too boring for other people. The more you stand out, the more people connect with you, the more people can connect with you. So, for example, the most famous Austrian nowadays is Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's basically, everyone told him, like, your voice, your accent is so bad, you can never become an actor in Hollywood. He basically used that actor as his USP, and therefore became quite well known and super successful entrepreneur, politician, and movie star. So,
Mm.
yeah, turn your disadvantage, in his case, into a huge advantage by just being different from everyone else.
Yeah, I love that so much. Yeah, because like there's things about you, things about me that are just fairly unique, and if we lean into those things rather than sort of try and hide them in some way and try and blend into the crowd just to be liked, as you say, if you either become something to a few people or you become nothing to everyone,
Yeah.
pretty much. So, like, there's quirks about me. There's things I like that are probably pretty dorky, but it's better to lean into those things rather than try and pretend I don't like those things. So, 100%.
That's like also the reason why in almost every live stream I tell people that I don't see myself as a writer, that I see myself as an entrepreneur. Because if someone is like a real writer that wants to read amazingly well written things, they will never connect with me anyway, because I don't have that skill set. But on the other hand, if someone feels like, yeah, I'm also on a writing platform, but I feel like more like a marketer and entrepreneur myself, those people then will connect with me.
Yeah, definitely. Um, take a quick look back through a couple of these. So Max clarified that Francesca was maybe asking what Phil wants from life, which I think maybe you answered, Phil, during one of your answers there, or what you're working towards and how you got there. Um, which you might also have answered. But can you tell us maybe one thing, Phil, for going into 2026 that you personally, so not even like right build scale, but you personally are working towards that you'd like to achieve sometime next year?
Absolutely. So the goal for the business is to make $1 million in 1 year. That's something that I really want to do, because I want to prove myself that I can do this. So within 1 year, without ads, I want to make $1 million online. Other than that, I absolutely want to travel. I feel like I haven't traveled that much this year, because obviously Cinema and I were getting married earlier this year. So we had a lot of things to plan, and we didn't go on honeymoon because my mom's currently sick. So we decided to do that at the beginning of next year. And other than that, because I strongly believe you always need three goals. You need one for business, one for your relationships, and one private. And my private goal is I would love to run 100 miles.
Amazing, amazing goal. And Max says you can do it, Phil. So I agree with. And yeah, if you want to, ever want to travel, definitely come to this neck of the woods as well and visit Ireland and
Absolutely.
see this place too. Margaret said it takes a good writer to be a good marketer. It's all about communication, which I 100% agree with. That's a great point, Margaret. Communication is so important, Phil. How do you think that fits into this whole personal branding thing? How do we best utilize communication to build our personal brands, do you think?
I strongly believe that you need to understand human psychology in order to build a personal brand, in order to sell something, in order to connect with people, in order to date the woman of your dreams. So you really need to understand how other people tick. And this is one of the things, if I could change one thing about school, I would for sure make sure that everyone at school learns more about human psychology. Super basic things like, why do people react to blue different than they do to red? For example, if I would have learned this in school, it would have changed my life. And this is only one out of 100 different lessons.
Hmm.
But let me bounce that back to you. You also have a lot of expertise on this topic. What's your point of view on that?
Yeah, I think now I'm just thinking about the whole red and blue thing you mentioned there. It just attracted me. Tell me about that first of
Yeah,
all.
when you hear that, you think about Liverpool against Chelsea, right?
Let's not talk about Liverpool for a while. They're really breaking my heart right now. Um, yeah, I think, I think pushing yourself to to adopt new forms of communication is a great way to build your personal brand. So, like what we're doing right now, like speaking over, like live over Substack, is not something I thought I could ever do. Like last year, I've never felt comfortable doing this. Obviously, it's easy with you because I know you, but I'm not a naturally extroverted, well spoken person. So to do this kind of thing is difficult for me. But I'm getting better at it, and I think it's because I push myself to do it.
I
Um,
think you're doing amazingly.
I appreciate it. And same with the podcast, like it's not something I ever thought I could do, and I never thought I'd be able to like interview the likes of yourself, or any of the other creators I've been able to speak to. Um, but I've learned to do it because I've exercised the muscle in terms of communication. So I always recommend that anyone who thinks they can't do something in terms of a communication channel, like going live or podcast or YouTube, whatever, just try it, throw it out there, give it a go. Writing might be what you're comfortable with and you feel safe in terms of writing, but try going live on Substack with a friend and speaking to them about a topic for 20 minutes, and that can totally change the way you think about yourself, what you're able to do. And that's a real big part of personal branding as well, because I think getting your face and your voice on camera like this is so important for connecting with people going forward. What do you think?
I totally agree with that. Especially with doing something like speaking on camera, doing live streams. Just fucking do it. No one's complaining. No one's remembering if you had a fuck up. So that's totally fine. I always tell the story. I interviewed an CEO of a quite large company with 50,000 employees here in Austria, and we were doing a live stream, and I was starting my moderation, and he was introducing himself, and he was like, not finding the right words. And he said like, okay, we need to stop. We need to do this again. And I told him like, we cannot stop. It's live. We're already streaming. We already have viewers. There's no way to stop this. And he was like super nervous the next 5 minutes. And he was like, yeah, this is shit. Why did we do this? And so on. And he got so much positive feedback for that, because he's also just a human being, and people just love to see people struggle. That's what makes you human. Because coming back to our core topic, we could also have two AIs speaking with each other, but then I'm pretty sure it will be super boring, and those AIs will not be as good looking as the two of us are. And third of all, they will be perfect and therefore will be super boring for everyone. So
Yeah, I can never replicate this. Um, but yeah, no, I agree. Like, it's those little mistakes that you make, or the whenever you mess up when you go live or whatever. That's really what does it's the thing AI isn't going to do naturally. You can't, even if you tell AI to make mistakes, I think it still won't be able to do it or in an organic way that makes sense and it feels real. So, that's why with my podcast episodes, I do very little editing. I leave in the pauses and the places where we stumble over our words and that sort of stuff because it's real and it's human. And I think that's really important. Max said, we learn that in education reinforce psychology, but the curriculum doesn't always allow for it. It's mostly, uh, reinforcement, not actual pedagogy. And appreciate your kind words, Mark, as well. So yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from this conversation is don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to push yourself to do new things. And because those are the moments where you really grow as a person, when your brand really solidifies, and really creates those connection points with your audience as well. What do you
yeah,
think, Phil?
I love that. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Nothing to add on my end.
Good. Glad you agree. Are there any questions for anyone before we finish? We're going to be here for maybe another couple of minutes. So if you have any questions you want to ask, just pop them into the chat.
I'm going to go ahead until we receive a question from someone.
Yep.
David, what are your points of view for personal branding in 2026? Is there anything you want to do differently than you did in 2025?
Yeah. So one thing I want to do differently, I want to do more of is I want to do more live stuff. So my plan is to work some more webinars and things like that into my sort of schedule for the year. So I only did like a few in 2025 at the start, then I kind of stopped. So I want to try and work that into my cadence for the year and try and do more live stuff. Record it, use that as content maybe in future as well. But I think I was speaking to someone about this just before this conversation, actually, one of my coaching clients, and was talking about how whenever you're explaining something to somebody else, that's whenever your thoughts crystallize most effectively. If you just try to think of it by yourself and try and come up with it, it's very hard to grab it. But if you're having a conversation with somebody, you can really get a hold of that idea. And I think going live, even in like webinars and things like that, and answering questions, is such a great way to eke out those thoughts that are in the back of your mind and really solidify them. So that's something I really want to do more of. What about you in 2026?
Yeah, for us, it's for sure that I personally want to bring back my regular Substack lives. I did them a lot at the beginning of the year, then I got like super slow around summer and the time for our wedding, and now I'm picking this up. I would love to have one or two standardized formats. One, for example, where I have a fixed guest that joins every week, another one where I interview people. I think it's a cool way to connect with people. I somehow feel like entrepreneurs are all so busy that it's just strange to reach out to someone and say, hey, I would love to connect on a personal level with you. Do you just want to have a 30-minute talk? It just feels a little bit strange. But whenever I do a Substack Live with someone for 30 minutes, I know if we are a fit or not. And I love to do those things unscripted. I mean, yeah, why don't I'm not a big fan of having like a live stream where every question is mapped out. I do love to send people a briefing document before so that they know how it works, how to do a Substack Live if they never did it, and to ask certain questions that help me get a better understanding of them, where they're coming from and what they want to achieve and what they're building. But
Mm.
I'm not a big fan of scripting it out. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I always find if I try and go by a script, I just go off
Mm,
so quickly and then ends up becoming a real mess. It's so much better just to do it off the cuff like this.
mm.
But one question there we'll answer, then we'll finish up. Do you recommend starting on just one platform, and if so, which one? Do you want to tackle that first?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question because I don't know Milica. I don't know your niche. I don't know the goal you have with it. And I also don't know your target audience. That being said, if your target audience is on Substack, I'm a big fan of starting out on Substack because you can build your list, you can build your reach through notes, you can even start a podcast, you can do a lot of things here on Substack. So that for sure is something that I would be thinking about. Um, I just opened your profile and it looks like LinkedIn could also be a great fit for you. But I personally never enjoyed LinkedIn, so I'm going with Substack. What about you, David?
Yeah, I agree. I still think at the minute Substack is the best platform around for building
Mm,
an audience, and it just offers so much and is growing all the time. I find that for me, a natural complementary platform to Substack is YouTube because you can share a lot
mm,
of stuff on there, which I'm doing more of as well. I know you guys are doing a great job with that too. So, I think if you're going to do any kind of video content on Substack, then the natural thing to do is just to put it on YouTube as well and grow your audience there. Um, Max said, "What do you think of AI as a podcast collab interviewing the LLM?" Um, Interesting idea. I don't know how that would work necessarily in practice, but I guess you probably could do that. You could just talk to it, and it could be an interesting episode. What do you think about that, Pete? Or Phil? Pete?
Honestly speaking, I hate the idea. I could imagine nothing more boring than asking questions to an LMM and
Mhm.
getting the LMM to answer it. Why do I need to do a podcast for this? I do this something sometimes with ChatGPT that when I'm in my car that I have this conversational mode on and I talk with it about the weirdest things where probably I would get arrested if someone ever finds out what I'm talking to. But that being said, no, I don't like the idea of me interviewing an LLM for a podcast, but I like it the other way around. I think it would be cool to bring on an LLM here to Substack that is asking me questions about a topic, or that is asking really, really tough questions like, why are you doing it that way? And really going into detail. Something like that sounds more interesting to me than me being the interviewer of an LLM. I love interviewing people, but I really prefer people other than AIs.
I think I agree. Yeah. Margaret said, if you have a Substack, do you need a website? I would say probably don't. You can have a website if you want to. I don't think search is what it used to be anymore. So I don't think it's just as effective, and I think Substack can be a viable option for that. What do you think, Phil, about that?
It really depends again on what you want your business to be. If you're a creator and educator like myself and you have things to sell, then you need a Substack, but you don't need a website, but you need to have a funnel, basically a landing page and a page where you can collect money from people. Because here on Substack, it's not possible to say, hey, I would love you to pay me $300 in order to get this course or to do a one-on-one coaching session with me. That's just not possible on Substack. For that, you need to have an external page where you can collect the money, a checkout page, and it would even be better to also have a sales page where you provide a little bit more information, where you can introduce your offer in a structured way.
Yeah, I think you can definitely build an ecosystem with a few different things kind of put together. And Substack's a really good central core aspect of that, and you can kind of move in different directions from it at the center. But yeah, you definitely need other things to kind of, if you want to build something bigger than just Substack, things like Calendly to book calls or that sort of thing, or Stripe or whatever to kind of take payments. But yeah, that's great. I'm not going to keep you any longer, Phil, because we've got stuff to do. But this is a really cool conversation. 163 people joined us for it. Again, if you haven't subscribed to Phil or Right Build Scale, make sure you do that before we finish. I'll share this call later on YouTube, like you mentioned before as well, so you can watch it back. Phil, is there anything else you want to say before we finish?
I want to say thank you so much for doing this with me, David. It was absolutely a pleasure to me. We should definitely do this much more often. Also from my side, if you haven't subscribed to David, top left of your screen right now and click the subscribe button. David is one of my best friends here on Substack. He's an amazing human being. He's probably the only Substacker other than my wife who got me to go on the knees in front of him. What it has to do with that, you will probably hear in our next live.
You probably need to clarify that a little bit.
Yeah.
Need some context.
That's your dirty minded thinking. No, we basically took an amazing picture where it looks like if I'm proposing to David, and that's something super funny. That
yeah. We'll share those pictures soon. Christine took some photos of Philip and sent him in Vienna, and then
I actually have an idea for this picture to turn it into a Substack note that hopefully goes viral. So
okay, cool. Looking forward to that. Brilliant. Okay, guys, thanks for joining us, and we'll leave you on that really interesting note. And yeah, make sure you check out everything Phil and Right Build Scale are doing, and we will see you soon. If you have any questions for us afterwards, feel free to comment on notes or via DM or that sort of thing. But yeah, Phil, really cool to catch up with you again.
Thanks everyone for joining in. Had an amazing time. I see your mate David Love. That was my main goal for today, other than hope to answer some of you guys' questions. Thanks everyone for joining in. Thanks, David, and I wish you an amazing day. Talk soon.
Yep. Bye, guys. See you soon.